This video emanates from some questions as well, specifically about if we don't take good pictures and then we have them in our project, how do we correct them? So there's two different ways here. Initially, the best way to do it is to correct your levels and your exposure before you actually put them into your picture, into your final composition. So I'm going to show you that. This one is obviously underexposed. And one of the easiest ways to do this is come down, and I'll pull my layers palette out here, and to this little half black, half white circle. It says create a new adjustment layer. And I'm going to go to levels. And what this shows me is a histogram. And your pictures are probably not going to be this bad. But what it does is push way to the left, which means all this is kind of a mapping of how many pixels there are of each color. If you imagine that this is white and this is purely black and this is 50% gray, most all of the colors are in the 75% gray to 100% black. So we have no pure whites. So what we can do is something called remapping these pixels, and we're basically going to say that this pixel right here, these few pixels that are about probably 65% gray, we want to be white. And in order to do that, we're going to have to move this slider to the left, and we can kind of salvage some bad pictures. Now, if it was really this bad, you'd probably want to just take another picture. So I would bring that to what's called the taper. I'm going to bring that right to the edge where the pixels start. If I go too far, then what was a very subtle gray is now pure white, and so I get these big white patches. So I want to just go to the taper. Now I can move the midtones around a little bit more to pop out that. So you can kind of see what that does here. If I turn this layer on and off, that adjusts those pixels. I'm still not really getting the pure blacks, or I'm getting not a lot of detail in some of the shadows because it's just a poorly exposed picture. But I can maybe salvage that a bit. So I want you to really take note of what this histogram looks like for an underexposed picture. Now, what I would do then is I would just go to save this. I could flatten it. I could flatten it first by going to layer and then flatten image, or just save it as a JPEG, which does compress it and you lose a little bit of quality, but it's also going to flatten it. Because if I just grab this picture now, I want to make sure that adjustment comes with it, and by flattening I do that. Now let me show you the opposite here, an overexposed one. The overexposed is much worse than underexposed, so a lot of times you can salvage an underexposed picture much better than you can an overexposed picture. Let me show you this histogram here, and you can see it's pushed way off to the side. So we're missing a lot of information out here. We're missing all that detail. There's these subtleties in her arm here, and there's no way to get that back. I can darken the picture from the dark end, so I can move this to the right and make some of the darkers dark, but there's no way to lighten this and get back this information that was those subtle grays and the subtle shadows in her arm. So this one is hard to correct. I can push it a little bit, I get her hair back, but I'm never going to get any details here. So if you're stuck with this kind of picture and you can't retake it, you kind of have to do your best and pull these darks out a little bit, but don't expect too much. It's much easier to pull out those lights out of a dark picture than it is to go the opposite way. So again, I would go to image and flatten, or a layer, I'm sorry, and flatten image, and then save it, and then I could bring it into my document. Now let's say that we already have it in the document and you don't have the option to do this anymore. Maybe you've brought it in and now it's flattened, or we'll go with one here where we still have the layer available to us. What happens though is that let me pull in another picture here. Let's go place. We'll place this one, or we'll just place a normally exposed picture. And I want to always hold the shift key down when I'm grabbing the corner nodes. So now I'm going to just use this as a reference because this was a properly exposed one. Now if I go ahead and choose this adjustment layer and this levels, now I have a really odd histogram because I've got all kinds of things. I've got a lot of white here. I've got some pixels that are dark. And what I want to do is I want to darken this up. So I darken this up like we did in the last picture, and I'm darkening her up, getting it about right. But what happened here to my image that was properly exposed? It affects that as well. So I can turn that on and turn that off, and you can see I darkened this, and I don't want to darken that one up. So there's a way around that. So I'm going to throw that levels away. What I need to do is only affect this picture. So in order to do that, I could take a marquee tool and draw a box around everything, and hopefully I can get it perfectly sized. But the better way to do that is to hold the control key down, click on the image, and it automatically selects anything that's on that layer. So now I have kind of a protector of the rest of my image, or rest of my document, because I put that marquee around that one image. Now I can go to the levels and I can do what we've already talked about. I can push it this way and get a little darker without affecting this one down here. Now again, that's overexposed, and it's not going to be really great, but I might be able to salvage it a little bit. But a lot of you have been talking about how do I adjust an image, and I've already got the image in there, and so that's what you would do. Now, let's say that the worst case scenario, we don't have layers anymore. We've flattened it, unfortunately. This is not a great situation, but now we will have to select this this image just with the marquee tool. Now, I can get a little bit closer. I'll move these out of the way. You can see that I'm not absolutely perfect, so I can go to select and transform the selection, and I can bump this selection out and in, and it looks pretty good right here, but I needed a little bit of adjustment there. Now I select that. Again, I'm protecting the rest of my document. I'll zoom out so you can watch this as my control image, and I can go to levels, and again, I guess it's hidden here. I can darken this up without affecting that. So that's what you kind of have to do. It's unfortunate if you've already flattened it. The best case scenario is you just go back to your original document like we were doing here and adjust it, then save it, and then bring it into your composition.